Hello everybody, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about how to, in more detail than before, how to convert your birth time to the solar time of your birth, because your birth time on your birth certificate is your clock time. And really, solar time is what Chinese metaphysics wants to use. It represents nature. It represents what's happening in the real world. Whereas clock time is a human construct. It is not actually reality when it comes to what is physically happening at a given point in time. And so this is why if you have a date given and an hour of something happening and you want to analyze it from history, you would use this also. It's like the birth of the activity, and it would be listed at a clock time somewhere. And so you would have to figure out what the solar time, that local solar time was. Because, well, to me it makes all the sense in the world, because solar time has to do with nature. And so does Chinese metaphysics. Now, if you were born near the change from one year to the next, your solar birth time could determine even which year you were born in. And of course, if you're close to the change of 2 months, your solar time of birth can determine which month you're born in, and the same thing for the day. So if you're born close to midnight, although this gets a little bit tricky here, I actually think the day, as many practitioners use or many masters use, the day actually starts at 11 p.m. the day before. So that is part of the next day. And I think that is correct. It makes more sense because the hour will stay the same. And so I start to look at it that way. I have not run across somebody who was born that late, so I haven't had to worry about it yet. But I'm more and more convinced that this idea that the day actually starts at 11 o'clock the previous day, according to our calendar, makes sense. Now, there are some items or some things in Chinese metaphysics that use a point in time that is in real independent time, that has and it's typically noted as a clock time in a particular location. And there are several things that meet that requirement. This includes when the solar terms change. So if you go to the the Hong Kong Observatory website where they do the solar terms, they give you the time in Hong Kong. This is a real point in time because this has to do with where the Earth is in its position around, in the orbit, in its position around the sun. So it's 15-degree angles. These are literally 15-degree angles, and that point in time when it transitions from one to another is a single moment in time for everybody on the planet. And that same thing happens with the 2 solstices and the 2 equinoxes. They also have a given point in time, and it happens for the same for everybody. But when we're talking about the rest of the time, we're talking about your local solar time, because that tells you what kind of energy you have at that point in time on the day you were born. And it's where you were born. So that is local solar time. And so this took me a while to understand the difference between this and why it works in a certain fashion. But it makes sense physically, as a physicist, it makes sense to me to use this kind of 2 different ideas. This is a particular point in time, whereas this has to do with your local position of the sun when an action happened, like your birth. Now, in this video, I'm only going to show you how to convert a local clock time to a local solar time. And of course, in your birth certificate, it's your local clock time, because, we don't have local solar clocks. I kind of wish we did. So you use this when you know the local clock time of an event, usually in the past. of like a person's birth and want to know what the solar time was at that moment in time in that location. It's both of these are important. So you be able to do this, of course, you have to know the clock time. And so usually, well, not always, but oftentimes this is given on your birth certificate. But apparently there are some countries until recently, somewhat recently, didn't record birth times. My husband, who was born in Hong Kong under British rule, did not have his birth time listed. However, his mother did know when he was born. So we do have at least the right animal sign. But at the same time, that was still clock time, because I don't think that they were rich enough to afford one that would worry about the solar time, because it's hard to calculate, and we need computers to do that these days. You know, it's celestial mechanics basically, but it can be done, and it's available for free. So this is not something you have to be freaked out about. And you have to know where you were born. And a city is usually close enough. You don't have to be super specific. Just a city is good enough. Now, if your birth certificate does not have a time of birth and nobody remembers even roughly when you were born, maybe all those people who were present at your birth are no longer living. That's an example. A BaZi and Chi specialist, someone who does both, because it really helps when you do both. They may be able to determine your time of birth by your personality and your health issues, if you have any, and by various things. It will not be cheap. If you get it cheap, it probably won't be good. But when this happens, they will try to narrow it down a little bit. Even if you knew you were born in the morning, that narrows it down. Or were you born at night? Or were you born in the afternoon? That is enough to help narrow it down. If you don't know that, it's going to be quite expensive because there's 12 different ones to look at. So, but you're going to be asked a lot of questions about your personality, about your health. Some of them may be embarrassing, and you have to be really honest. There may be an aspect of your life you don't like about yourself, something like this, but you have to be honest if you want to get the right birth hour. I hope most of you are not in that situation, because I can't do this for people. It's too hard. It requires a lot more knowledge of both of these, and even some people may use Z-Wei Doshu also. So if you have someone that can do all three, you have the best bet at finding the right hour. And we only care about what your hour pillar is. We don't care the exact minute of your birth, usually. Of course, unless you were born in between the two, like let's say the 2 years. But that should show up in your personality. Now, the reason we're going to do all this trouble is we really want to determine the correct hour pillar. And if you have your correct hour pillar for your birth, you're able to do a lot more personalization of date selection and personalization of the of things like the Sansha for windfall wealth procedure. I guess that's the best word for it. So it will be important to your personality, the Sansha wealth calculations, and also your just date selection in general. This will help you a lot, especially if you have issues that deal with the hour. For example, problems with investments or problems with your kids. Then you have to know the hour properly to understand when is your best time to do something. Now, the first step to do is open up the time and date website and go to the Sun, Moon, and Space tab and choose the Sun calculator. So this is what it looks like. This is a screenshot from the time and date. And so you should see this logo. And I think if you just put your cursor across, when you get to the sun and moon, it automatically drops down this drop down menu, and the sun calculator is the top one, and you just click on it. And this is the web. It's timeanddate.com. That will get you there, or you just Google time and date, and you'll get there too. Now, once you're there, once you've clicked that sun calculator, it will bring up a new page, or a new, I guess it's a new page on that tab, the whatever tab you are on. Anyway, here you need to enter your city of birth. And of course, this also assumes you know your time of birth so that you can deal with this. If you don't know your time of birth, you have to have somebody help you find this. But you don't need to do this. If they can find it, what you're looking for is the hour pillar. This means that you're somebody who actually knows your time of birth. So you need to make sure you're picking the right city if your city has a common name. So make sure it's the right city name and it's spelled correctly. They do pretty good with that. And also that it's in the right, like, state level jurisdiction. I mean, something that's bigger than a city but smaller than the country, whatever that is, like a province in Canada, that level. And it's also the right country. Especially in the United States, there's a lot of cities that have the same name as a city in Europe, and you might make that mistake. So make sure you're picking the right one. Now, very small cities won't be listed, but if that's the case, you simply find a bigger city in your time zone that is as close as possible to your longitude. Hopefully, it's as close as possible to you. Usually you can find a slightly bigger city that's closer. In the United States, at least, a city of over 10,000 people is listed. I think it's like 11,000. It's there. But a city that's under 10,000, in fact, it's under 5,000, is not listed. I don't know exactly where the cutoff is, but it's somewhere in that range. And at least for the United States. I'm not sure that it'll be that accurate every place else. But, we're talking about something that is relatively close to where you are. That if your city is not listed. And of course, if you were born, in the countryside, in your parents' house, you probably don't have an exact minute of birth. That's when you have to go and get some help. But you at least know roughly when you were born, within a few hours. So this is what it will look like after you've clicked that sun calculator. This is what it'll come up at, and it'll have a place or country. The city is much better. You get much more information with the city. If it's the country, it doesn't work very well. So put a city name in, and then you just hit the search button. Actually, what will happen is that as you start typing this in, it's going to come up with some possible cities. Once you click on it, it automatically goes to another page, and it actually finds a particular date and time, which is the present date and time you do the search, or at least it'll be that month. So after you get that city in there, the current month's data will show up for that city below this sun path image. So there'll be an image, you have to scroll down, then you'll find the table. And if you're over 20 years old, you're going to need to go back in steps of 20 years to get to your year of birth. I will show you in a second what it looks like, but you can go back. I mean, this is 2025. That's the year that will be shown. You can go back to 2005. You click on that, and then you hit the search thing, and then you can go back another 20 years if you need to, or another one, until you get to your birth year. And once you get there, then you choose your month, and then you click search once again. What will show up will be all the days in the month that you were born. and you scroll down to the day and you click on that day and it expands it. So this makes it a lot easier to see. So this is the actual data for me. The year and the month will show up here. I blocked it because nobody needs to see that because it makes it too easy to have my identity stolen. So I blocked that out. But I was born on the 28th day of that particular month of that particular year. And this is the key. We're looking at the solar noon. And one of the reasons why I have you open up the screen or open up this date is it's a lot easier to follow than try to go across because this is on the left and this is on the right. And this is just makes it super clear. This is the time on the local clocks in the city in which I was born at solar noon. So this tells you everything you need to know. Now, in this example, the solar noon, which is 12 noon on the solar clock, is 12:45 p.m. on at that time in that city on the clocks that are there. This means I must subtract 15 or 45 minutes so that, this is the difference between these two from the clock time that's noted on my birth certificate, which actually there were a couple different times. This is like the average. So it was at just after 1 p.m. And so instead of being born on the goat hour, which if I really was born on the solar time of 1 p.m., I would have been a goat there. But instead, I was born in the hour before, which is the horse hour. And it makes a lot of sense when I look, even for me doing a simple analysis, I could see that this is correct. So my Chiman analysis, the destiny analysis, agrees that I was born on the horse hour. And for me, there's a huge difference between being born on the goat hour and the horse hour when it comes to certain aspects of my personality. And it is very, very clear I was born in the horse hour. So this is why I do insist on using solar time, because I really think it does work better. Now, not everybody will have this big difference like I did between their BaZi analysis or their Chiman destiny analysis between 2 hours, but some will. In my case, it was the difference between a Fanyan chart and a Fuyan chart, and I don't remember which way it went. I just have a really hard time remembering which one is which. So this is why I mean, to me, BaZi is too confusing. Chiman is a bit less when it comes to destiny analysis, but if you're doing forecasting with Chiman, that takes a lot of practice too, and it's not something I want to do. But the destiny analysis isn't easy, but at least it is easier than doing forecasting or trying to help you. That would include things like being strategically doing things if you need to do something at the right time, you can get a strategy to have the most success possible. But that is tough. You have to learn a lot more. Now, the clock time at solar noon could be before or after 12. And in fact, it could in certain locations, on certain days, it will actually be at 12 and you have no time difference. That is rare. Most of the time, a city will either always be ahead or behind. But of course, with daylight savings, some cities will flip. That is, when daylight savings time is not in effect, it will be before. But when daylight savings time goes into effect, then solar noon will be afternoon on the clock time. And daylight savings is a real pain. But this website takes care of it. You don't have to worry about it. It knows more than you do. Now, if the clock time is after 12, the method is you take the difference between the clock time at solar noon and 12. So in my case, it was 45 minutes. But I have seen some that are more than an hour off. This is a real time. I think it was for Seattle. I'm not 100% sure. But I did find that during the summertime when uh, when they would have uh, daylight savings time go into effect, it's almost 2 hours off. It's amazing. I think this is the biggest I saw in my somewhat brief search. So the difference is 1 hour and 55 minutes. So, and this does happen when some places when daylight savings time is in effect. Usually it's not that bad if daylight savings time is not in effect. And it would be more like almost an hour here. It's already pretty far off anyway. So depending on where you were born, it can really be worth looking at to make sure your solar time, that your birth hour does have the right solar time. Then what you do is you subtract those extra minutes, in this case it would be an hour and 50 minutes, from your time of birth. And that will determine your solar time of birth, which is the important thing. Now, if we use that average of my birth time, which alternately can be written as 1303, it's just, military time, you can first subtract the hour, so you get 1203. And then you have to subtract the other 55 minutes. Now, the easiest way I know how to do this is that 1203 could be written as 1163. It's the same time. You're never going to see this, but this allows you to easily subtract the 55 minutes, so you get 1108. It is still the horse hour. Very rarely, I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but I suppose it's possible that this solar noon could be at a different time that's more than 2 hours in extreme conditions. And actually in China, it's actually very possible because China has, I think, just one time zone, even though it's a huge country. And so it's a little crazy. But I don't have anybody from China contacting me because I don't think YouTube is available in China. So, and they have their own people who would tell them the same thing in their own language. So there's no need for them to be watching me. Now, if the clock time is before 12 noon, you take the difference between 12 and the noted clock time and you add this to your time of birth. There will be places where this happens. It's not the most common, but it can happen. So if example solar noon occurred at 11:45 a.m., then you add 15 minutes to your time of birth. If somebody is born close to, but before an odd hour change, they may have their branch move forward. For example, if someone was born at 2:55 p.m., and the solar noon were to occur at 11:45, they would actually be born at 3:10 p.m. So they would be a monkey instead of a goat. So this is totally possible. Now, in my experience, it is more common to have solar noon occur after 12, and this is in part due to daylight savings time. But you'll have what you have. You find it and you just deal with it. Don't worry about it. Now, it is likely that the biggest city in your time zone has the clock noon and the solar noon relatively close, and at some point during the year, they will be the same. If you were born in a city east of that biggest city, your clock time is more likely to occur before 12 noon. And if you were born in a city west of that biggest city, it's more likely to be afternoon. So that's just how the Earth rotates, and what because clock time is fixed and solar time is like real. Now, the reason to be so bothered about this is your hour pillar depends on your solar time of birth. And that is very important to determine things about your personal date selection to pick the best day. Also, your strongest date for Sansha windfall wealth, and even the good but less strong dates also depend on your hour pillar. So this is really, really important if you want to use these methods. If you don't care about using these methods, and you don't care about what changes it might make in your personality, then that's fine. I'm not insisting that people do this, but this will help you get things correct. So that's it. I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope this was helpful and that that you find out exactly when you were born, what hour, because this will make a difference um, in some important things. And some important things that a lot of people are interested in, like the Sancha windfall wealth procedure.